National Movement 4, 1922 to 1930. December, the Swarajist. November 27, 1927, Simon Commission. 1928, Nehru Report. March 1929, Jinnah 14's Point. 1929, Delhi Manifesto. December 1929, Lahore Session. 1930, Purna Swaraj. 1930, Gandhiji's 11 Demand. 1930, Gandhiji's Dandi March, Civil Disobedience Movement, Phase 1. The Swarajist. It was a faction with the INC. With the onset of the non-cooperation movement, Congress had stopped participating in election process, but few within Congress wanted to participate in the election, led by Chittaranjan Das, Motilal Nehru and Ajmal Khan. They wanted an end to the boycott of the Legislative Council. They wanted to end or mend these councils, oppose the councils if the government does not listen to their demands. Their only intention was to use the council as arena of political struggle. Those advocating entry into the Legislative Council came to be known as Swarajists. No changes. The no changes opposed the council entry. They advocated a concentration on constructive work and continuation of boycott and non-cooperation. They also advocated quiet preparation for resumption of the suspended civil disobedience program. Their school of thought was led by Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, C. Gopalachari and M.A. Ansari. They came to be known as the No Changers. Swaraj Party. Goa session, December 1922. The proposal of the Swarajists to fight election was rejected. Chittaranjan Das and Motilal Nehru resigned from their presidency and secretaryship respectively of the Congress. They announced the formation of Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party, or simply the Swaraj Party. They were joined by some Khilafat leaders too. Chittaranjan Das was the president and Motilal Nehru was one of the secretary. Both sides wanted to avoid a 1907 type split. Both sides also accepted the necessity of Gandhiji's leadership of a united nationalist front. Both sides also, hence they decided to work as a faction of INC itself and not a separate party. The Swarajists were allowed to contest election as a group within the Congress. The Swarajists accepted the Congress program with only one difference, that they would join Legislative Council. The Swarajist manifesto for election released in October 1923 anti-imperial tone. In the November 1923 elections, the Swarajists had managed to win 42 out of 104 elected seats and a clear majority in the Provincial Assembly of Central Provinces. Major achievements of Swarajists. Vithalbhai Patel became the Speaker of the Central Legislative Assembly in 1925. They gave fiery speeches in Assembly on self-rule and civil liberties. With coalition partners, they outvoted the government several times, even on matters relating to the budgetary grants, and passed the adjournment motion. The defeat of the Public Safety Bill in 1928. It was aimed at empowering the government to deport undesirable and supervise foreigners, as the government was alarmed by the spread of socialist and communist ideas and believed that there was a crucial role being played by the British and other foreign activists being sent by the Comintern into the India. Government appointed Mudiman Committee to bring out the defects in the Government of India Act 1919. Jinnah was a member of this committee. Construction of work by No Changers. Ashrams sprang up where young men and women worked among tribal and lower castes, especially in Kheda and Bardoli areas of Gujarat. Popularized Charkha and Khadi. National schools and colleges were set up. Significant work was done for Hindu-Muslim unity, removing untouchability, boycott of foreign cloth and liquor, and for flood relief. The constructive workers served as a backbone of the civil disobedience as active organizers. By 1925, the Swarajist position had weakened because of widespread communal riots, split among Swarajists themselves, responsivist, non-responsivist. Responsivist would join committee, non-responsivist join council, but no more support to government. The death of Chittaranjan Das in 1925. In coming 4 to 5 years, Swarajists again merged with Congress mainstream. Note: in the Madras province, a different Madras Province Swaraj Party was established in 1923 by S. Satyamurthy and S. Srinivasa Iyengar. This party later merged with the Congress in 1935 prior to the election of by the Government of India Act 1935. Lord Irwin 1926 to 31, appointment of Simon Commission in 1928, passing of the resolution for complete independence Purna Swaraj by INC in 1929, Lahore session, launch of the civil disobedience movement, first round table conference RTC 1930, Gandhi Irwin Pact in 1931. Simon Commission, a 7-member Indian Statutory Commission, popularly known as Simon Commission, after the name of its chairman, Sir John Simon, was appointed on 8 November 1927. The commission was to recommend the government whether India was ready for the further constitutional reforms and on what lines. What angered the Indian most was the exclusion of Indians from the commission. Indians were against the appointment of the all-white commission. The basic notion behind the exclusion was that foreigners would discuss and decide upon India's fitness for self-government. The Congress session in Madras, December 1927, meeting under the presidency of M.A. Ansari, decided to boycott the commission at every stage and in every form. The commission landed in Bombay on February 3rd, 1928. On that day, countrywide Hartal was organized and mass rallies held. Wherever the commission went, there were flag demonstrations, hartals and slogans of Simon Go Back. At Lahore, students took out a large anti-Simon Commission demonstration on 30 October 1928 under the leadership of Lala Lajpat Rai. He was seriously injured in the police lathi charge and he died after a few weeks. Report of Simon Commission was published in May 1930. It stated that the constitutional experiment with diarchy was unsuccessful. In its place, the report recommended the establishment of the autonomous government in provinces. This report also became the basis for enacting of the Government of India Act 1935. Birkenhead's challenge. Birkenhead was the SOS Secretary of State for India. On the protest and rejection of Simon Commission by Indian politicians, he challenged Indians to form their own constitution or framework for Indians' political reforms based on consensus from all communities, Hindu, Muslim, Sikhs, etc. and political groups. Nehru Report 1928. To answer to Lord Birkenhead's challenge, all-party conference led by INC met in February 1928. They joined a subcommittee under the chairmanship of Motilal Nehru to draft a constitution. Jawaharlal Nehru was the secretary. This was the first major attempt by Indians to draft a constitutional framework for the country. The report was finalized by August 1928. Major recommendations of Nehru Report: dominion status on line of Swaraj or self-governing dominions within a year. There should be a federal form of government with residuary power vested in the centre. Rejection of separate electorates, which had been on the basis of the constitutional reform so far. Provinces on the basis of language. 19 fundamental rights, including equal rights for women, right to form unions and universal adult suffrage. Full responsible government at the centre, along with the autonomy to the provinces. A bicameral legislature at the centre. Clear-cut division of power between centre and provinces. Full protection to cultural and religious interests of Muslim and other minorities. Complete disassociation of state from religion. Response to Nehru Report. Muslim League, Hindu Sabha and the Sikh communalists were unhappy about the Nehru Report. The younger section of the Congress, led by the Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, was also angry over dominion status. Instead, they demanded the Congress that the Congress adopt Purna Swaraj or complete independence as its goal. With few expectations, Muslim League leaders rejected the Nehru proposals. In reaction, Muhammad Ali Jinnah drafted his 14 points in 1929, which became the core demands the Muslim community put forward as the price of their participating in an independent, united India. Muslim League's main objection were separate electorates and weightage. In 1916, Congress Muslim League Agreement, Lucknow Pact, provided these to the Muslim communities, whereas they were rejected by the Nehru Report. Residuary power. The Muslim realized that while they would be a majority in the provinces of northeast and northwest of India, and hence would control their provincial legislature, they would always be a minority in the centre. Thus, they demanded the residuary powers go to the provinces. According to Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the committee has adopted a narrow-minded policy to ruin the political future of the Muslim. I regret to declare that the report is extremely ambiguous and does not deserve to be implemented. The inability of Congress to concede this point must be considered a major factor in eventual partition of India. Jinnah's 14.1929 in the all parties meeting at Calcutta in December 1928, Jinnah moved certain amendments to Nehru reports, but these amendments were not accepted by Congress. So Jinnah refused to participate further in the conference. A few days later, there was a Muslim all-party conference was held in Delhi, in which the nationalist Muslim attended and formulated a series of demands on the behalf of the Muslims of the country. In this all Muslim parties conference, it was made clear that no constitution by whomsoever proposed or devised would be acceptable to the Muslim of the country unless it conformed with those demands. At the same time, Jinnah, after consulting the Muslim leaders, formulated 14 points for safeguarding rights and interests of Muslims in any future constitution of the country. 14 points. The form of the future constitution should be federal, with the residuary power vested in the provinces. Uniform measures of the autonomy shall be granted to all provinces. All legislature in the country and other elected bodies shall be constituted on the definite principle of adequate and effective representation of minorities in every province, without reducing the majority in any province to minority or even equality. In the central legislature, Muslim representation shall not less than 1/3. Representation of the communal groups shall continue to be by separate electorate, provided that it shall be open to any community at any time to abandon its separate electorates in the favor of joint electorates. Any terrestrial redistribution that might at any time be necessary shall not in any way affect the Muslim majority in Punjab, Bengal and Northwest Frontier Province. Full religious liberty, that is liberty of belief, worship and observance of and propaganda, association and education shall be granted to all communities. No bill or resolution or any part thereof shall be passed in any legislature or any other elected body if 3/4 of the members of any community in that particular body oppose it, being injurious to that of the community. Sindh should be separated from Bombay Presidency. Reforms should be made in the Northwest Frontier Province and Balochistan. Provision should be made in the constitution giving Muslims an adequate share along with the other Indians in all the services of the state, and local self-governing bodies having due regard to the requirements of the efficiency. Reservation in services on the basis of religion. The constitution should embody adequate safeguards to the protection of the Muslim culture, education, language, religion, personal laws and Muslim charitable institutions. They should get their due share in granted. No cabinet, either central or provincial, should be formed without there being at least 1/3 of the Muslim ministers. No change shall be made in the constitution by the central legislature except with the concurrence of the states constituting the Indian Federation. Delhi Manifesto. On November 2, 1929, a conference of prominent national leaders issued a Delhi Manifesto which demanded that the purpose of the Round Table Conference promised by the Lord Irwin should be a formulate to a scheme for implementation of the Dominion status Home Rule, that the Congress should have majority representation at the conference, amnesty and a general policy of conciliation. Viceroy Irwin rejected these demands on December 23, 1929, which led to the demand of the Purna Swaraj in Lahore session of INC. Irwin called all the political parties' strategy to divide and rule. Purna Swaraj. The following major decisions were taken at the Lahore session of the INC, which was presided by Jawaharlal Nehru in December 1929. The Round Table Conference (RTC) was to be boycotted. Complete independence declared as the aim of the Congress. The Congress Working Committee authorized to launch a program of civil disobedience. January 26, 1930, fixed as the first Independence Day to be celebrated everywhere. December 31, 1929, at the midnight of the bank of the river Ravi, the newly adopted tricolor flag of the freedom was hoisted amidst slogan of Inqilab Jindabad. They also pledged to free India from the British rule. On January 26, 1930, the declaration of the Purna Swaraj was publicly issued. For the first time, the Purna Swaraj was demanded. It was declared as a result of not getting dominion status, as stated in Nehru report. Within a year, Nehru made an appeal to volunteers across the country to join the civil disobedience movement. INC celebrates Independence Day every year on 26 January since 1930. Civil disobedience movement 1930 to 34. Gandhi was given the opportunity to start first act of civil disobedience by INC. To carry forward a mandate given by the Lahore Congress, Gandhi presented 11 demands to the government and gave an ultimatum of January 31, 1930 to accept or reject these demands. Gandhi's 11 demand: reduce expenditure on army and civil services by 50%, introduce total prohibition of alcohol and other intoxicants, carry out reforms in criminal investigation department, change arm acts from allowing popular control of issue of firearms license, release political prisoners, accept postal reservation bill, reduce rupee sterling exchange ratio, introduce textile protection, reserve coastal shipping for Indians, reduce land revenue by 50%, abolish salt tax and government salt monopoly. When Lord Irwin rejected these 11 demands, Gandhiji started civil disobedience movement with Dandi March. Dandi or Salt March, March 12 to April 16, 1930. Gandhiji, along with the 78 members of the Sabarmati Ashram, was to march from his headquarters in Ahmedabad through the villages of Gujarat towards Dandi. A distance of 400 km, Gandhi would address thousands of people and attack government in his speeches every day. Gandhi talked to foreign journalists and wrote articles for newspaper on the way. They pushed the Indian independence movement into the forefront of the world media. Gandhiji became a household name in the West. Gandhi broke the salt law by picking up a handful of salt at Dandi on April 6, 1930. 50,000 people had joined him by then. Why salt? Issue resonated with common man as everyone uses salt. Indians had been making salt from seawater free of cost until the passing of 1882 Salt Act that gave the British monopoly over the production of salt and authority to impose a salt tax. Salt tax was 8.2% share of tax revenue of government. So it was very profitable business for British government. It was a criminal offence to violate the Salt Act. Practical ways of civil disobedience movement as stated by Gandhi: wherever possible, civil disobedience of the salt law should be started. Foreign liquor and cloth shops can be picketed. Refuse to pay taxes. Lawyers can give up practice. Public can boycott laws by refraining from the litigations. Government servants can resign from their post. All these should be subject to one condition: truth and non-violence as means to attain Swaraj should be fully adhered to. Spinning clothes by using chakra, fighting untouchability. The local leaders should be obeyed after Gandhiji's arrest. Spread of the movements. Tamil Nadu, Rajaji led salt march from Trichirappalli to Vedaranyam. Kerala, Malabar থেকে Kelappan led a march from Calicut to Poniar. Assam, Sylhet to Noakhali march by volunteers. Andhra Pradesh to saw march to make salt law. Nehru arrested in April, Gandhi arrested in May when he tried to lead a raid on Darshana salt works. Around 60,000 people were arrested by the government. There was widespread civil disobedience carried on by the people. Apart from the salt tax, other unpopular tax laws were being defied like the forest laws, Chowkidar tax, land tax, etc. The government tried to suppress the movement with more laws and censorship. The Congress party was declared illegal, but this did not deter the Satyagrahis who continued their movement. There were some incidents of violence in Calcutta and Karachi, but Gandhiji did not call off the movements unlike the previous Temetu non-cooperation movement. Thousands of women also took part in the Satyagraha. Foreign clothes were boycotted, liquor shops were picketed. There were strikes all over. Surya Sen's Chittagong revolt group carried out Surya Sen's Chittagong revolt group carried out a raid on two armories, declared the establishment of a provincial government. Peshawar, led by the Gandhian Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Frontier Gandhi, in April 1930 he was arrested. Khan's followers called Khudai Khidmatgars, whom he trained in Satyagraha, had gathered in a marketplace called Kisa Kwani Bazaar. There they were fired upon by the British Indian Army despite being unarmed. Solapur, the industrial town of the southern Maharashtra, saw the fierce response to the Gandhi's arrest. Textile workers went on strike, and along with the other residents, burnt liquor shops, destroyed symbols of government authorities such as railway station, police station, municipal buildings, law courts, etc. Assam, a powerful agitation was organized against infamous Cunningham circulars. Cunningham circular forced parents, guardians, and students to furnish assurance of good behavior. Manipur and Nagaland, at the young age of 13, Rani Gaidilinu, a Naga raised the banner of revolts against foreign rule. She was captured in 1932 and sentenced to life imprisonment. Impact of agitation, imports of foreign clothes and other items fell. Government incomes from liquor, excise and land revenue fell. Elections to the Legislative Assembly were largely boycotted. The British government was shaken by the movement. Also, its non-violent nature made it difficult for them to suppress it violently. This movement had three main effects. It pushed the Indian freedom struggle into the limelight in the Western India. It brought a lot of people, including women and the repressed classes, directly in a touch with the freedom movement. It showed the power of the non-violent Satyagraha as a tool in fighting imperialism. Every section of the society, as students, women, tribals, merchants and petty traders, workers and peasants, took active part in the civil disobedience movement. All the Muslims participated, but their participation was now here near the 1920-22 level because of the appeals by the Muslim leaders to stay away from the movement. The active government encouragement to communal decision was working. Lord Irwin called Gandhi and Congress for talks finally in January 1931.